right. Our speaker tonight is Jarima Gorman, who is the founder of Burst Into Books. Burst Into Books was established in 2018. And Jarima is going to talk more about everything that Burst Into Books does and why she started it. She has been an educator since 2008, so she comes with great experiences with us tonight. So thank you, Jarima, for being with us. Before Jarima talks more into Burst Into Books, we're just going to review the agenda and metrics of success. Our agenda, we had our welcoming and open survey already, which is our pre-survey. Again, Jarima is going to take us into Burst Into Books. And then we're going to finish with a post survey and announcements and raffle. So please stay with us to the end. Our metrics of success tonight, what we hoped for today from Burst Into Books is that youth served in program participation. So these are some of the things that we would like our participants to take away tonight is that the number of children you served by age and grade, attendance rates, and repeat participation across programs, so storytime, workshops, tutoring, and events. Literacy growth outcomes, so measurable improvement in reading skills. Examples would be pre and post reading assessments, increased reading levels, improved comprehension, writing samples, and literacy confidence surveys. And then lastly, family and community engagement. So the number of families engaged through literacy nights and community events, volunteer participation, community partnerships formed, and satisfaction feedbacks ratings from parents and guardians. So with that being said, we are going to pass this to Jarima. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm super excited to be able to be here with you all tonight. It's gonna be very interactive. So do know, like, if you feel comfortable in the chat or coming off, there will be things I ask and questions, but it's really a conversation, So I'm just really grateful for this opportunity, and I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen. Hold on. All the tabs, y'all, all the tabs. Okay. Y'all see me? We're good? Yes? All right, cool, cool. All right, so I'm excited because let me make sure. Does it move? Do y'all see it?
So you want to put, yeah, slideshow.
Slideshow? Yeah.
Okay.
You have your cursor right on it.
Okay. It feels like when I share it, it's saying that okay. Let's try it one more time. Okay. Okay, share here. And then when I press slideshow, it says your screen is paused.
I'm looking at the settings.
So I think it's probably which window you're sharing. And it gets a little confusing going back and forth, but if you in Zoom, you share the window where you can see the PowerPoint, where you can see the Google Slides. Do you see where it gives you multiple windows to share? Okay, so make sure you share the one where you see the Google Slides. And then you have to do Alt Tab to go back over to that window.
Okay.
And now you should be able to click slideshow. But I don't think we see it yet. Oh, here it comes. All right, I think you're good. Try to go up and down and see what happens.
You see it?
Yep. Thank you for that, Meredith.
Yay.
There's my professional part.
All right, awesome. So again, like they said, my name is Jarima Gorham, and I am excited to be here with you all tonight. I'm gonna share a little bit about my background, and then we'll get into the conversation. So the title for tonight is Raising Strong Readers at Every Age. I geared this workshop to be from birth to 12th grade, just because I know for some of us, we may have younger children, or we may have a variety of ages that maybe are in our home or we interact with. And so, and even I think it's important to know this as our child is developing. As I was sharing with the ladies earlier, I have a freshman in high school, right? And he's my only child, but it's been very interesting to see from the womb right now to almost 15-year-old, and just seeing how that development has changed over time, and just how it's so important that each stage has a different, I would say, level of focus, and sometimes a little bit of frustration as parents, right? Because we're like, how do I keep my child engaged when it comes to reading? So we'll talk about all the things tonight. And so just, I'm not going to read all of this, but I just wanted you to know, like, I come as someone who does this work full time. So I've been in education since 2008. I've taught everything from kindergarten to currently I teach 12th grade AP Government and Politics. I went to school for this because I'm like a student of learning. And so I have my master's in teaching. I've been an administrator. So I've been on the side of making decisions when it comes to the curriculum we're choosing, and all the like tough conversations that maybe we don't know how to handle when it comes to how do we balance workload from home and being at home and being a parent. And then I'm also currently in my final stages of my PhD programs in curriculum instruction, because I believe that what also aids to children understanding and loving reading is them seeing themselves. And so just want to be a part of the process of how do we create curriculum that represents us. So that is what led me to go ahead and go further in my education. But to get into today's conversation, I wanted to have an idea of the room and like where we're at. So if you could either come off mute or put in the chat, what grade is your child in? Whether it's your grandchild, your actual child, you can put in the chat just so I can know where we are as far as the children that we're talking about tonight.
Good evening. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Donna.
I have a grandson that's in his, let me get this right, Donna. It, I think he's going into his junior year of high school. He's at Uplift,
Okay.
and he's 16. He'll be 17 in April.
Okay.
And my 8-year-old grandson, he's in 4th grade, I think. Yeah, he in 4th grade. And he will be 9 in May.
Okay.
And then I have a 19-year-old grandson. He's in his 3rd year of college. Yeah. Donnell third. Yeah, he's in his 3rd year of college. And then I have a grandson. He's 5. He's autistic. But unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure and the honor of meeting him yet. That's a whole nother story, so I don't want to talk about it. But I just want to say I do have a grandson that's autism, and one day I'm gonna hopefully before I meet him. And my baby girl, she just gave me 2 beautiful baby twin girls.
Oh my
And
goodness.
they are a month old now. And they came December the 31st, New Year's Eve.
Oh wow, they're gonna party every year now. That's awesome. Well, Donna, you here for every part, right? You from the babies all the way up. So congratulations.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And I feel what I see in the chat as well. I think Maria as well had quite a few different ages. I'm looking, we got 7th grade, so middle school, 5, first year in college. Congratulations. Transition to college is a whole nother conversation, but
Yeah.
definitely necessary. Yeah, so I appreciate you all doing that for me. So that helps for me to know that literally every part is going to matter and connect, whether your child is there already, going to be there. We got some newborns, or
Yeah.
if they are in high school and in college beyond. Reading is what I always tell even my students, reading is a life skill. It's beyond us being able to do our homework and do a report. It's about, I believe, really survival. And so
Yeah.
it's important that even if we didn't necessarily have the best introduction to reading, we may have a child, or even as an adult, because I come across adults who are like, I just want my child to like to read because I don't like to read, right? And it's a story behind it. It's a story behind why they have this experience, but I think it's important that we just change our mindset about why reading is a necessary thing. So thank you all for engaging with me just from the very start. So we're going to dive in. So the first thing is why reading matters. Reading affects graduation rates, right? Early literacy predicts your future success. This is directly, like, there's science behind like quality of life compared to like people being able to read, understand, comprehend. It impacts your job opportunities, and then also it is a way that reading builds confidence in a way that I think is beyond vocabulary. I think it matters. It exposes you to other languages, but you able to travel the world from your home, right? There's a level of confidence that my knowledge base isn't just based upon the four walls of my house, that I'm able to
Hmm.
understand and comprehend conversations that I maybe have never even traveled there, but when they're talking about it, I feel like I have the ability to engage, right? And so I think a
Hmm.
lot of times we can downplay reading for, just like I said, assignments, but it really gives you that self-esteem to feel as if your words matter and that you could be a part of certain conversations. And so reading for me, I believe, and you'll see it in all of the things we talk about, is about how do we make it integral in every part of our lives. And the more we do that, the more you can't help but do better in school, right? You can't help but to do better in these other opportunities that you get. But the reality is that many students read below grade level. And the pandemic widened this literacy gap. I actually had a conversation with my seniors today because during the pandemic, they were all middle schoolers, right? And so we had a conversation about that because it's these big statistics, even on social media, high schoolers, literacy rates, they're reading at this level, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, how did we get here? Well, those same high schoolers were sixth, seventh, and eighth graders when some of those pivotal moments in the transition of like the types of text that you read, and you were learning online, right? You didn't have opportunities to really engage with a teacher. And so the pandemic, we already had literacy gaps. It just widened that gap so much more over time. And then also, when we look at the statistics and we compare different demographics, Black and Latino students are disproportionately impacted the most, right? And so there's a lot behind that. Back to my whole part of like representation matters. I think just
Hmm.
the access, the word choices, the images that you are first introduced to reading. So many times we are behind the ball because we weren't even a part of the conversation. We weren't a part of the lesson, and so we're navigating not only texts and words that are unfamiliar, but also that aren't representative of who we are. And then last but not least, adults have literacy gaps as well. And I think that that is a huge thing to talk about, is that we have parents and we have grandparents who also don't feel the most confident about their reading abilities. And so now you are a parent, you are taking care of others, and you're like, but I also have gaps. And so I think that it's important when we're talking about how do we fall in love with reading. For some of us as adults, is how do we fall back in love with reading, right? And we're never too old to get that love of reading. And we're never too old to be able to get those skills. And I work with a lot of programs that work with adult literacy for that reason, right? So I can help your child, but we also need to make this a family collective, because that's ultimately when they leave us, when they leave school, when they leave all the things, they're at home with you. Right. And so they're going to be modeling and watching a lot of the things that you do. And so that's a question I wanted to ask. Like, do you feel comfortable helping your child with reading? I know we're in this reading workshop to talk about different skills. But I would love to just, if you're willing to be transparent, either off the mic or in chat, like how comfortable do you or confident do you feel in helping your child when it comes to reading?
Well, for me, I wasn't a really, really big reader like that, but I did read. I do know how. But like you say, I fall within them gaps too. And when it comes to literacy, it's some things words I come across. I don't know how to even try to break them down to pronounce them. So I know it'll be hard for me to try to help, like my fifth grader, my 9-year-old, thinking that now your grandson when he's reading, it's hard because if I don't know, so how am I gonna teach him to know? So what I did was I went back. I didn't go back to school, but I took a literacy class, and and my reading have improved. So now I feel a little confident in myself to say, well, you know what, Tyler, let's sound these words out, and you know what it means, and you can get can read it. So I got a little confidence in myself as far as the literacy goes, because I did fall between them gaps. But like I said, I took some classes and I have improved. So I can say I do feel a little confidence in myself now to help my grandson and my two baby girls when they do, start school, because I'll be right there in the schoolhouse with them.
I
Yeah.
love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing.
You're so welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome.
And I see Yolanda, you posted first, let me say congratulations to your daughter on her second callback with Disney. That's huge. And I think, you even noting that she has Down syndrome. However, she was still able to activate the script and be able to be a part of it. And again, um, I love like exploring even when it comes to like different cognitive things. And so we won't go too super deep with that, but I will share some resources we do provide as an org. But I think to your point, you being a bookworm probably leans to that, right? Like her being able to see that, her able to grasp it. And yes, schools have wiped out a lot of libraries, which has been a little
Yes,
disheartening.
they have.
A lot of schools will even get schools like calling us to make donations. Like we're getting rid of the library, we're making more space. And the reality is that yes, we are in a world of technology. We have Kindles, we have all the things, but it is so, and I cannot stress the importance of a young child holding a book,
Absolutely.
looking at pictures, feeling
Yeah.
the pages, imagining what could be, right? Like all of those things, technology is what it is. It's a tool, it's not a replacement, right? And so it's very challenging when the introduction to reading was on a tablet or if it was on something that wasn't tangible, and then we all are then we're able to navigate, oh, this is how now I can use these other tools, but I started with a book, right? And so let me emphasize that. So if you don't have a schools don't have a library. That's why our home libraries are so important. And I'm going to give I love I didn't personally share some of my favorites because I'm going to share favorites during this presentation of my books, but I think it's so important to have home libraries, and it's important for kids to be able to see that they are in a literacy rich home, right? Like I can grab a book, and books can come in all many different forms and genres and all the things, but it's something about visually seeing books that is going to lean towards being able to improve your reading. And then I'll read this last comment and we'll keep going. I'm very comfortable with Oh, it went away. I'm very comfortable with partnering with my niece with reading exercise. She's an advanced reader and tested at the 10th grade level. What grade is she in? I was
7th.
and
Wow.
okay.
Yeah, but she's addicted to that phone and is not always applying herself in the
Mhm.
classroom like she should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I actually shared that with the
Oh,
ladies.
okay.
I lead a whole literacy program, okay? I tell this all the time. And my son is a freshman in high school now. You would think that he's stuck to a book, and it's just not the case, right? Like things changed when he was younger, though. He was, right? Like we used to do library trips, we used to do all the things, and then it's like, how do we do the dance between their connection to phones and technology and them still understanding the importance of reading. So we definitely will talk about that. And then last one, and we'll keep going. Yes, I am old school. I read books, solve these math problems on a sheet of paper. Yes, yes, yes. All right, let's keep going. So the good news is that parents, yes, you are the number one influence, and you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I just want to stress that, like, we talked about these different barriers. We talked about even maybe our own gaps. It's not about you being an avid reader or perfect. It's about you being consistent. Like, hey, this is going to be the thing that we continually do in this home so that we can make it a part of our everyday life. And so when I give you different strategies, some of them may feel like, oh, that works perfect for us. Others may feel a little bit more challenging, but I just hope that when I'm sharing things, there are things that stick out, and I will ask throughout, what are some of the things that you think you and your family can do? So let's start with early literacy. So when we are 0 to 4, talk constantly, right? And so a lot of times you will hear people when they're talking to babies and they're like, why are you talking to baby? That baby don't know what you're talking about. Or, and you're just talking to your stomach. Or, all those things matter because if you don't know, this is developing their language. They are
Mm-hmm.
understanding sounds, they're familiarizing tones, they're understanding even like to the point like the tone of a word, right? Like, oh, that's a happy word. Oh, that's a bad word. Like they're starting to like pick up on all those clues. Singing songs matter. That's why you have at the library I used to take my son, I used to have like the sing-alongs with the babies and all the parents singing, the babies is rolling on the floor. You think they're not paying attention? They are, right? They're taking it in, they're listening to it. Label objects, they're touching the objects, let them hold the book, right? And that's why younger books have board books and they have even some of the cloth ones because guess what? It's gonna go in their mouth. They gonna, do the things with it, but it's them actually
Mm-hmm.
exploring and learning. That's how we learn at that age. It's through exploration. It's about exposure. And so as much as possible, doing those, and that's why a lot of the books that we love are those rhymey type books, right? When you're 0 to 4, because it's about repetition. It's about you understanding how things work together. So at the bottom, you'll see when I go to each age level, I picked books that are both representative of both Black and Latino communities. And so these are some books that I absolutely love that are perfect for this age range, right? So everything from Brown Bear. I know we probably familiar with that. One of my favorite authors, I Am Every Good Thing. His name is Derek Barnes. He's an amazing writer. His books are very colorful and big, and kids are like, whoa, look at this, right? Like, look at this beautiful white smile on this brown skin, right? Like, it's all of those things are gonna pull your child in. My poppy has a motorcycle, right? Like, being able to have those different books around will allow them to not only be able to start having conversation, but conversation, even if you feel like they're just like babbling. The babbling is them helping to form their words and help them to form
Mm-hmm.
their literacy. So it's really just about this is the introduction. It's fun, it's lively, it's energetic. Again, this is what early literacy looks like. And we're reading to the stomach too, right? So we're reading to the baby, we're playing the music
Mm-hmm.
because all of that is great introduction. Make it musical, gospel songs, right? Something that I'm always making sure families understand is that storytelling has so many different forms. Storytelling is not just the written word. Music is storytelling, right? When we think about gospel songs and lyrics, when we think about lullabies, when we think about even clapping syllables out, all of those things are helping us to build it. So it could be fun, it could be musical, it can be the one song we listen to every day going to school, right? Like this is gonna be our song to school. This is our positive song of affirmation. This is the lullaby we sing before we go to bed. All of those things, making it musical, making it fun, are things that are going to help them in developing their language. So, especially in the beginning years, it should be lively, it should be fun, it should be colorful, because it's my way of understanding the world around me. So then we get to elementary, right? We have our kindergarten to fifth graders. This is when they're starting sight words. and they're starting to get introduced to those little reader books, and they're starting to see illustration matching the words and starting to see the relationship between the pictures and what they're seeing on the page. And so this is where 20 minutes and repetition, the consistency matters. And so when we're younger, that's why if you even think about the size and how long it takes to read an elementary book, it's pretty short, right? It's not a super long book. It's not like our chapter books. We're not trying to get them a marathon of reading. We just want to get them consistently to do it. And so every day, 20 minutes a day. If you have a kindergarten to fifth grader, and again, this goes up to fifth grade, if they read 20 minutes a day, it is going to dramatically change not only their relationship with reading, but them be able to understand and deepen their comprehension. And when you're reading with them, not asking, and I have some question prompts that I'll give next, but asking open-ended questions as they're reading the story, because that's what aids into comprehension. A lot of times I remember with my son, he would read a book, and at the end, I'm like, what was it about? He's like, I don't know. I don't remember. I'm like, okay, go back, read it again. But this time I'm asking him like those inquisitive stories, like, I wonder what's gonna happen next. They close the door. What do you think behind the door? Before you read the next chapter, what do you think is gonna happen? Right? Like getting them to start using their clues. Well, in the first chapter, when they open the door, this happens. So maybe this will happen, right? So asking open-ended questions allows them to explore and dig deeper and look into context clues and start looking at what's happening in the story beyond what is happening just on the page, like helping them to, because I think that that's one aspect that I have seen over the years is our kids losing their imaginations, right? Like just imagine right now, I can stop Googling it. Imagine what you think it looks like, right? And so imagination comes with those open-ended questions, and then celebrating the wins. Think about you even as an adult when you're doing something that might feel taxing or hard. We like getting rewards, right? We like getting incentives, right? So if I read daily, 20 minutes a day, and I love Kit Kats, maybe at the end of one chapter, I come in my room, it's a Kit Kat. That's a small celebration. We're gonna win, we're gonna celebrate that, right? Like not making it seem as if like this is what you're supposed to be doing. No, we like to reward, we like to celebrate. It was a hard word that it took you some time to pronounce it. Now you're reading it so fluently. We're gonna clap it up, right? Like being able to make the small things matter allows kids to only not understand what they're reading, but feel like they're being seen, right? And you're watching them develop. And so at the bottom, again, these are some more suggestions of books that, and I'll make sure you all get access to this so you can have these titles. But these are some more books that I think that are really great introductions to books that many of even the kids that come into our bookstore love and they ask about. And so I think that these would be great things to add to your home. Let's keep going. I also want to make sure I'm not bypassing what might be said in the chat. Has speech therapy. She had 50-word vocabulary. They don't believe anything. What you mean by that? They don't believe anything. I just want to make sure I
mean, just little things like you'll tell them, like my daughter, I told her, yeah, I we can use calculators, or I showed her an encyclopedia and a dictionary. She was like, what? I said my book bag was heavy. We didn't have to, that type of stuff. She don't believe nothing. She don't. I guess she don't even think that I went to school. So.
I get you. Said she don't believe what you tell her. Like, look, reading was hard growing up for us. Okay. Yeah, I think yes. What was this? We get book donations, so we actually had got an encyclopedia set that got donated. My son was like, "What is that?" Right? Like, what in the world? I'm like, look, this is what research was for us. Okay.
So, she was looking at that like it was foreign. She's like, I don't want that. She could talk into her phone and tell the phone what she looking for, and then Google pop up with all the little extras and some little things, and she just pressed right on it. Look, mommy, this is what you talking about,
Look, I think the thing I tell my son all the time is that yes, again, like which we'll talk about technology and all that, like these are tools, but they don't replace the skill, right? Like it just makes us get the answer quicker. And so being able to say, like, oh, because we do have this computer and you do have this phone, now it should be able to help us to even improve this more, right? Like so we're gonna start here and then we'll come to that, but that's not what we start with, right? And so I do appreciate,
Mhm.
like you said, you sharing. Like this is what we had to do. It's like, okay, so now you understand why I'm saying like you should be beyond me, right? Like we should be able to get you beyond me because we don't even have to travel to the library to bring the encyclopedia to us. We can actually go live in Africa. Right? We don't have to look. We don't
Right.
have to look. We can actually go and look and talk to someone in a whole nother country if we wanted to, right? And so just how do we utilize it to our advantage?
I took her to open up a library card. It was an experience for her to have her own library card because she felt independent, because I had one, she got one, you know.
Mhm. I think that's our first, that was my son's too, his first like ID, right? Like being able to feel official, feel a little grown, feel a little
Mhm.
more beyond. I had mentioned in this slide asking open-ended questions, and so I gave you some questions that I think are great starters for that. And so when we think about comprehension of when it comes to text is yes, can I sound it out? Also, do I understand the vocabulary that's in this text, the phonics piece, and then the fluency? So the fluency comes with the 20 minutes a day, right? So sometimes our reading is choppy or we don't feel as, sometimes our comprehension isn't as smooth because it took us a long time to struggle through that sentence, right? So I don't even really remember what I read before because it took me some time to get to the end. So that's why the repetition, the 20 times a day, that's why it's actually even okay when a kid wants to read the same book over and over and over, right? Because sometimes we're like, you not even remember the words no more. It's like, no, actually they are, right? It's going to get to the point where now I just feel so confident with it. So now, and then I'm going to make sure you understand the word because I'm going to question you with these different prompts along with what you're reading. So some of the questions that I put here are some really great questions, and I would love for you to tell me either offline or I mean off the like off mute and like say it out loud or in the chat. What would be like one of the questions you would even want to try tonight or tomorrow when you read with your child? So the first question is, what happened first? Right? So a lot of times when we're telling a story, we are, we're just like sharing this happened, we just kind of go and go and go. But what happened first makes me one have to go back and make sure that I really understand the beginning of the story. So what happened in the beginning? So what happened first? Why did the character act that way? So whenever they're telling you like, and then when he went to this school, he just went to his classroom. He went, so why do you think he act that way? Like making them have to think beyond maybe even what just happened in that scene. What's the lesson? What's the lesson in here, right? Like what lesson is here? Because every story has a lesson or a theme. So being able to understand, okay, overall, what is the author trying to get you to get from this part? And then last but not least, the one that I love is that even if they can't understand what the characters and why they act that way, if you was in the story, what would you do? Right? So, what would you do if you were in that situation? And so it allows them to put themselves not only in the story, but actually for them to understand that, these reactions are what led to these actions. So, based on those actions, what would I do in this situation? And then you can say, I can't wait to see when you read tomorrow what they ended up doing and see if they'll be the same thing that you would do. So, out of these four questions, they seem simple, but they really will push you beyond the who, what, when, where, right? Like the basic recall. But these are questions that push them beyond to see if they actually understand what's happening in the story. Is there a question that sticks out to you that you're like, hey, I want to keep that one in my back pocket? So whenever my child or my niece or my grandchild is reading, this would be definitely one of the questions I would ask them. So what question, if any, do you think stood out to you?
Well, really, two stood out to me. What's the lesson and what would they do? if they was in that story.
Mhm.
So those two questions stood out to me.
And then I'm gonna tell you why those are great. So when we think about reading, we talk about like text to text connections, text to the world, right? And then like even what are some real world examples that we want to bring into it. So a lot of times when we're reading stories, it stays on the page, but it deepens your understanding when I have to figure out how it connects to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm gonna remember that, right? Like when I'm in the same situation, I'm like, oh, because just like in the book, that's what's happening right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I can make a connection to the outside world. This happened just like when we went down south. When I went down south, this was also something that we saw that happened. So you're actually making
Mm-hmm.
text to world connections. So when we think about short term and long term memory, the long term memory sticks when they call schemas, when you're able to have a relationship with what you're reading. So I can recall it better because I have actually an emotional experience that I can connect to what I read. So then when I'm asked the question again, I'm bringing
Mm-hmm.
myself along with what I read. And so that's why sometimes you can read something and then 10 minutes later you don't remember it because you really didn't have no connection to it. It just came in
Mm-hmm.
out here one. But if I find a way that it relates to me, it's gonna stick around longer.
Mm-hmm.
Um Yep. So definitely, definitely, definitely. She said her too. So what's the lesson here and what would you do? So think about those questions. And I think that applies to all ages. You could be able to
Yeah.
dig in and ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing is art. So art is a form of storytelling. Illustrators are some of the best storytellers. That's why you can go to an art gallery and be in a whole nother world and just imagine what is happening in the scene. And so reading through art. So another way in which you can get kids engaged, what I've had parents share with me is that my child really struggles sometimes to comprehend and put it in words. And so it's like, how let's find another way for you to tell me that you understood. So let's draw it out, right? Or we can create comics. If your child is really into comics or to graphic novels, how do we make this like a character? Act it out because as we just talked
Mm-hmm.
about, we got someone gonna be in Disney, right? So it might be even more appealing to make it a script versus a book report. So how am I able to create another scene or something else that allows them to show me that they understand? And then one of my favorites is alternative endings because a lot of times when we read even like our average storytelling and our nursery rhymes, we do this activity in which we have kids create alternative endings. So for example, it's the Three Little Pigs, and we'll ask them what would happen if there was a fourth pig. So if it was a fourth pig, how could the story maybe change? Well, first the kids have to think about, okay, actually, if it's a fourth pig, what is his house gonna be made out of, right? Because if the other three made theirs out of this, then what's the fourth one? Okay, and then now it's
Mm-hmm.
four of them. How could the story change because there's a fourth pig? When does he come into the story? And so just something simple like that, like okay, at the end of the story, they went away to uh the islands. What happened if they went to the North Pole? How could the story be different? Right? So just like having them to think beyond the ending of that book, but creating a different ending. And it can be done through art.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something that they draw. It could be something that they create. If they don't like the book, like, oh, you know what? We didn't like that. What did you like? Well, I didn't like the fact that, you know, A, B, or C. Okay, well, let's change the ending. What would be a better ending to the story? What if there was a part two? What would you think the part two can be? So just being able to help them to know that the story doesn't end because the book ended. They're able
Mm-hmm.
to be able to create and beyond that become their own authors. Middle school, my one of my favorite grade levels. If you're a teacher, it's you need to hug your middle school teachers a lot, okay? Because middle school is a very interesting time in life. Okay, I was a middle school teacher before I was a middle school parent, and being a middle school teacher was very very different. And then my child became a middle school student, and then it was like, oh, okay, I see what the parents were talking about. Middle school is so much is happening. I think we need to understand when reading and developmental stages collide. So in middle school, what matters is what my friends think. What I'm starting to realize, who pretty, who cute. I'm starting to, I want to fit in, right? Like I that's weird. Like I used to hug and kiss mom and dad all the time. I'm not doing that right now, right? Emotionally, hormones are happening, things are changing. Some of our ladies had earlier periods, like things are happening in conjunction
Mhm.
with me learning, right? And I don't know
Mhm.
how to handle it. And so my emotions, my attitudes are all over the place, and also my interests are. So those original story times and coloring probably just ain't gonna do it for me no more. And it's okay. It's okay to understand that as my child's developing, their interests are developing, and I, as a parent, have to develop and evolve with them. And so this is where let them choose has to be what you start with. I know parents are like, in sixth grade, I read this book. We read Animal Farm, or we read whatever it was. Guess what? That just might not be the book that they're going to read
Mhm.
right now. And it's
Exactly.
okay. Let them choose. This is not something to argue about. So, sixth and seventh grade, my son, he started to kind of generate more into like the graphic novels. I'm in my mind, that's not a book. What are you doing? Right? Like, well, that's what he wanted. He was into Marvel. He cared about the marble. He wanted that. Guess what? I'm going to let you choose. And not only am I going to let you choose, I have to realize that storytelling is beyond how many words are on the page because graphic novels count. They count as books. And what also counts is audiobooks because we also are hearing someone else tell a story, maybe in a way that allows the story to come back to life to us. And for some kids, especially if they have any like IEPs, modifications, things that they need, it helps them to actually hear somebody read. And read aloud doesn't end because they're younger. When they get
Mhm.
older, they still need to read aloud. I read aloud with my seniors. We read a text as a whole class, then you go and see it. I say it's very similar to watching a movie. Like when you watch a movie for the first time, you don't see everything. You don't catch everything because you're just trying to get to the ending. You're like, how does this end? So you're not even paying attention. But then when you go back a second time or see it for the third time, like I didn't even know they were in the movie. I didn't even see that the last time. Like reading is like that. And it's okay if one of the cycles was listening to the story. And then after they listen to it, now you read it by yourself. And now let's read it together, right? However that works. So audiobook along with a book works, right? Like someone reading to them as they're reading a book, that counts as well. And then debating themes. This is where this age group, they want to debate, right? You say it's gray, they say it's pink, right? You say it's hot, they say it's cold. They want a good debate. So give them a debate, right? Like give them a debate that if they talking about the book, be willing to engage. And so if you don't see the pattern here, this is a family affair, right? We're not just giving the child a book and they go away. Debate it. Like, okay, they might say this was like, oh my gosh, this is such a boring book. Like, okay, so why? I don't think it was boring. I think it was great. Well, prove to me it was boring, right? Like, this is when you debate. This is when you have those conversations. Because even in them showing their disgust, they're talking about the book, right? So it doesn't matter if they're talking about the book positively or negatively. I just want you to get talking about the book. Because as you're talking about it, you're getting a better understanding. And then as we're debating, if it's especially a book that I'm familiar with, then I can kind of challenge you, which is what this age group really, really likes. So
Mhm.
the books that are at the bottom are books specifically for middle school. A book's a new kid. It's a whole series that goes with it. When I tell you, when we had our book club, when the new kid first came out, um, uh, it was really, really. I'm just looking at the chat. Y'all funny. I feel like I'm missing stuff. I'll go back. But in the chat, I mean, in the book, in the new kid, it's centered in middle school, which what a lot of middle schoolers love. So when kids come to our book club or to our bookstore, they love this series because they're like, this is just how middle school feels. It feels awkward. You're the new kid, especially if you're going from fifth grade to sixth grade. We may not think that's a big jump. That's a big jump for a child. They got multiple teachers now. The classes are a little bit different, the way they're structured. And so the book, The New Kid, is about this kid's experience being in sixth grade. And then it's a whole nother series that goes with it. The Crossover is another book. It's actually in poem and in poetry. So Kwame Alexander, he does a really great job with that. So again, these are books that I think are really, really great because they're allowing you to be able to dig deeper and have these kind of conversations that are on grade level with what they're at in middle school. All right, I'm gonna keep going. So writing strengthens your reading as well. And so we talked about art, but writing helps, and writing can come in different ways as well. So journaling, letters to the character. So it doesn't have to be a book report, but maybe there's 3 or 4 main characters. Have the child or your son or daughter, grandchild, niece, nephew, write to a character. Like pick one of the characters and write to them, right? And it's a way for them also to show their comprehension because they're like, okay, and I know you felt scared when you were going through that tunnel, but just know that you got it, right? It allows them to still be digging deeper and understanding the story because they're talking to a specific character in the book. As I already said, like rewriting the ending so we can draw out a different ending, but we can also rewrite it and then rap about it. Music is also a huge storyteller. I love music. I mean, absolutely love music. And the reason music is a connector of all because of the storytelling. And so you may not necessarily have like a structured book report, but if your child is into music, have them write a song about the book, write a rap about the book, right? As long as they're writing about it, it's going to help them strengthen their reading and them strengthening their expert. Because to be honest, I feel as if you have to be super descriptive in a song and in a rap because you have to make the person feel it, visualize it, see it. And in some ways, you're going to get more creativity in them writing a song than them just writing a paper. And so if you give them that option of the way they can tell you how they understood the book, these are just some different ways that they can get their interest because writing a book report is boring. It is. It's just rote memorization. But these ideas push them to have to think more and be more direct. And then we have high school. So high school, I think, and this can also go to those who talked about college, is really about where are they in life. And so, you know, they talk about you learn to read and you read to learn is as you get older. I believe when you get to high school, it's about reading for my livelihood and for my next step in life. And so a lot of the things that they're going to be reading at this stage are not necessarily for fun unless they've already fell in love with reading. What I have learned is that in being a high school teacher now and having a high schooler, you have to connect it to what they're dealing with right now. Because if they already have a connection to it and already have an interest, it's easier. So I was sharing earlier that my son, of course, when he was younger, library dates was great. Reading the things was great. Marvel comics kept him, but I felt him towards eighth and even now freshman year being like, I don't want to read, especially because I got these book reports now for school and I got all these different things. Reading is now becoming more of a chore because as they get older, they have to read more and they got to do more with reading. And so if they already didn't have a love, now you putting this big novel in front of them, unless they already have to read it, is not going to draw them in. But what I did notice is that I'm like, my son loves basketball. He's been playing basketball since he was born. He's really, as he's gotten older, has gravitated to fashion. And so a way that I have been able to get him to be interested in fashion, because he wants his own fashion line, his own fashion line, his own company. I'm like, well, if you want to be a business owner, you got to know the business, right? So if you want to be a fashion owner or be a designer, you need to learn about different fashion designers. And so sending him things about different people and how they were able to build their brands, or him learning about the business side of the fashion industry has been something that I don't have to force him to read because he wants to do it already, right? He wants to make money. He wants to figure it out. And so I'm connecting books to his real life. Right now in life, he will talk about fashion without any hesitation. He could tell you about different brands, different people. So I'm not gonna fight. I'm gonna go along with it. So whether it's cooking, whether it's social media, it could be social media. They have books and things that talk about stories about social media, different things that happen in social media, right? Like you could have news articles that talk about, there's actually right now a young lady who's suing Meta, suing TikTok, suing Facebook. I talk about this in my class, and she's saying that these different platforms make her addicted. And because of the addiction, she has anxiety and she has all these different things. Boy, when I tell you that conversation was lively in that class, these singers was like, what she mean she addicted? You could put the phone down with, and the other people like, actually, she make a good point because you get the notifications. That is already something that they're interested in. Give them more of that. Give them more of that kind of stuff to read and learn about. Like they want to know the juice. They want to know the dirt, right? They want to know someone getting sued. How much money they gonna get? Whatever it is, they got to read and research to find that out. So connect it to news and analyze that news together, right? Like, ooh, I heard they just went to court. What happened at the court, right? So it makes them have to dig deeper on their own. And then encourage independent reading. So encourage them to whenever they have time to look it up, figure it out. You wanna cook that? Okay, figure out what's the best recipe for us to do that. You look it up, right? And encourage them to figure it out. At this age, we can't be telling them, okay, go to Google and then you go here and then you go there. Like, you know what? Figure it out. Figure it out. And they're going to figure it out. Because guess what? They are the age that if they really want to know it, they're going to find out. Right? So if you really want to know how to do this, look it up for me. Tell me where to go. I want to go, okay, figure out the directions. How do we get there? Right? Like give them the independence to figure it out. And so the books that are at the bottom are at level, and they are books that I believe will dig more into the themes and life situations that they're in now that they love. It's really connected to where they are in life in high school. And so The Hate U Give, Dear Martin is a really good series. And then again, more options that are for different, like for both Black and Latino families and for both, right? I think that these are books that are on themes that they are currently going through. And then real life literacy. Your high schooler, they want a job, right? Or your college student, they looking for a job. They know that that's something that they will aspire to do. I need you to be able to understand what that application is asking you to do, right?
Yeah.
What do you have to put down? What's a reference? Okay, when they're asking you this question, what are they referring to? Financial literacy. Okay, you want a job? Okay, now you need to open a bank account. So these are the things that you need to know. Like this is what gross means. When you look at your check, this is what these different things are under, what they mean. Like they need to understand the words that they're being given. Insurance, right? Like they know taxes. What's the different types of taxes? Sales tax, right? All these different taxes, they need to understand what they're looking at. They may not necessarily have a contract right now, but they need to be able to look at the little details, right? Like so it might not be so much them reading a big book, but do you actually understand what's on this one page? Because you signing this could be the big difference, right? Like approving this and you didn't really understand the bottom line, that's going to be a big life lesson that you don't want to get because you just want to get to the end of the story. No, you might need to take your time and read sentence by sentence so you can know if this is something that you really want to do. So I believe at high school, literacy and the text just looks different, but they're still reading and they're still analyzing and they're still trying to figure out what is the theme, right? And what is it? How does it apply to me? How does this work for me? Does this job work for me? Does this bank account, the fees that they're going to take out each month, is this the amount of fees I want them to take out in my account? So them understanding those things. And then if my child doesn't like to read, just change the format, change the topic, as I said. Pair the reading with music. Book and movie night. This is one thing that I love to do with my son because there's so many books, especially when he was like around that middle school age. There's so many books that have been made into movies. And so even what we just talked about, The Hate U Give, right? Being able to read the book, and then we're going to read the book because we want to compare it to the movie. And people always talk about the book is better, right? So being able to understand, is that true? And if that's not true, let's talk about and debate it. But doing like a book and movie night, like reading the book together because we know we want to go and see this movie. I used to do that with my son when he was in middle school. He loved Marvel, like I said. And so I got him a Marvel encyclopedia. I didn't even know that was a thing, but they got an encyclopedia that tells you about all the characters, how they became who they were. And so before we went to see the movie, we're reading up about them, right? We're reading about their story. We're reading about how they got there. So then when we go see the movie, it'll be sometimes more times than not, he's mad. That's not how he became the villain, right? Like, you're right, but we were able to compare it because we read about it first. Until he was able to see, I see why reading is more important because I get more details reading the book, right? They can't fit everything in the movie. But doing that type of activity was really cool because he was able to see, I love it visually, but it didn't give me the full story. And so doing those types of things would be cool, right? Like if you know there's a movie coming out based on a book, let's read that book before we go to the movies to go see it or stream it at home.
Mhm.
Yep. Reading through culture as we kind of come to the end, we are always telling stories, you all. And I think that we don't always contribute. Our culture is embedded in storytelling, right? If I think about growing up, my family, my dad is from Tennessee, sitting on my grandma's porch in her living room, listening to my aunts and uncles tell about their childhood stories is a part of who we are as a family, right? Us joking about what happened when my dad played football or what happened at the family reunion or why we don't let uncle do this, right? Like all the stories come out in our family storytelling nights. Oral history is a part of children understanding who they are and understanding that they are a story. And so being able to see storytelling in different ways also matters. Spoken word, as we get older, going to open mics, going to poetry nights, all those things is us being able to see stories in action. And for children, that's important for them to not only hear your stories, but I think just perfect for Black History Month, they hear the stories about other leaders around them. Today, Jesse Jackson passed away, right? And that's huge in the Black culture. And I just wonder how many children really don't know who Jesse Jackson was, right? Like know who he was and what he did in the city and how he grew up the way he was. And those stories matter, not just because it's Black history, because it puts them in the story of history. They
Yep.
understand that who I am today is because of somebody and what they did before me. And so
Yep.
it's leaders that they learn. Like I have my students right now doing a project where they're researching different civic leaders. So today I had someone who talked about Cesar Chavez, right? And he talked about the farmers and how he unionized them. And then I had someone that was talking about Huey P. Newton with the Black Panthers, right? These are names that our kids were not familiar with before they did this project, but it helps them to see what happened before them in their cultures and also how those cultures are still alive today, right? And so they were able to learn, like, oh man, the Black Panthers, they did the free lunch. So that's why we get free lunch at school, right? Like they were able to understand like history keeps going forward, right? Even in Latino culture, right? Like talking about the unionizing and what's happening now, right? It lets them see in some ways history keeps repeating itself. And so if
Mhm.
they don't learn about their history, they're going to keep seeing things happen and they don't realize there were people in those different times that did something, so I could do something as well. And so
Mhm.
reading history through culture, it doesn't have to be in a book, but you sitting down telling them about cousins that they never met before, right? Or them learning about what, why we make this cake every Thanksgiving, like the story behind grandma's sweet potato pie, right? Like being able to give those types of stories matter and it allows them to
Mhm.
see themselves in the stories that you're talking about. So different fun things that you can find online is they have like book bingo. They have 30-day challenges. If you just look up online 30-day reading challenges, they'll say read a book that has a cat in the book or read the book that has a whatever, right? It's like different challenges you can do. I put a little picture on the side of what a reading like book bingo game could look like. You could do that as a way to pick books, right? So maybe you don't know what book to pick, but we doing book bingo and it says on here you need to read a book outside. So we got a book, we're gonna go outside and read the book. And then it also says on here, visit a little free library. So this week we're gonna get our book. We're not gonna go to the library. We're gonna drive in the neighborhood and find a little free library and get our book, right? So just doing different things that are fun challenges that come with reading. And then do a family read out loud night. Like maybe as a family, you all pick a night that you all are gonna all sit together, have the same book, and we all read it together and like talk about what it is that we got from that story. So these are just some family things that you could do that can help make reading come together. So I know I said a lot and we're at the end. Is there one strategy or one idea or one thing that you feel like, hey, I would love to try this week? And if so, you can say it either off mute or you could put it in the chat. So I would love to hear if anything stood out to you.
I think I'm gonna try the family night thing and
Cool.
the bingo. I like bingo. So those
Yeah.
two things I'm gonna try with my grandson when he come over this weekend.
Cool. And it's like, look, let's do family bingo, the movie
Yeah.
after the book. Yeah, like, and so we can say like we do a family bingo, just like bingo, it's a prize. So once we hit bingo, what we gonna do? We gonna have ice cream, or we gonna do something we like to do as a reward because
Mm-hmm.
we made
My
bingo,
grandson,
right?
he
So
loves pizza. So I'm gonna get
create
him
what
with
that
some
looks like.
pizza. Yeah.
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 Yes.
Okay.
Awesome, awesome. So some key takeaways that I want to leave you with is consistency over perfection. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not about am I the best reader even as a parent? It's not about how many books I actually own. It's not about whether or not my child is reading the 20 minutes every single day with fidelity. However, if I'm consistently going to make it a part of what we do, then that's
Mm-hmm.
better than us not doing anything at all, right? Because
Amen.
perfection keeps people from moving forward. Right? Because I don't know how to do it, I'm not gonna do it until I'm ready. No, just be consistent in it. Be like I heard a lot of people say my son loves movie night. So let's say I'm gonna at least in this year, we're gonna do 3 movie and a book nights. So we got 12 months
Mm-hmm.
out the year. So it's not we might be too much to say we're gonna do it every month, but we're gonna at least pick when we're gonna do these different books and we're gonna do this challenge. So consistency is better than anything. And then culture strengthens literacy. The more that your child sees themselves in the book, the more that they hear you talking about it, the more that you're able to share. And I'll share a quick story. When I was reading about the autobiography of Malcolm X, and then I also read this documentary. While I was watched this documentary, my dad walked in. Now my dad is 88 years old. My dad is older. And when he walked in, he was like, oh wow, that's kind of how it was for us, right? And it's and that has stuck with me because they talked about in the story about like sundown towns, right? And they were talking about these different places where you couldn't go after dark. And my dad started sharing about being in Tennessee, how that was something I never knew that, right? But him sharing that with me has been ingrained in my mind and it reminds me of that documentary every time, but I can remember it better because it connects to my dad, it connects to culture. And so understanding that the more you talk to kids about their books and you connect it to their culture, it's going to stick with them more because it's not just in the book. Like this actually happens in people's lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm going to remember that. Even if I don't even remember all the details from the story, I'm going to remember because now I have a connection. Music and art counts. So if they're drawing it, if they're singing about it, it all counts. If they acting it out, it all still counts as them doing literacy. And then your voice matters. Them knowing that their story matters. Them writing their own stories. If there's a book, my favorite quote from Toni Morrison, there's a book that you don't love to read, it's because you haven't written it yet. I'm definitely paraphrasing, but her whole emphasis is that many times we don't find the book that we love because we haven't written it yet. You haven't found the book that you love because you're supposed to write it. So what's the book that you think would be the best book? And when you tell me that, then that means you need to go and write that book. So your voice matters, right? A lot of times there are missing gaps in storytelling, and you're the one that's supposed to fill the gap. And so if children are saying over and over again, I don't like this book, I don't think it's well, let's think about what would be the best book for you. And it allows them to see that they can be storytellers themselves. So I just want to say thank you all for your time. To stay connected with me and the work that we do at Burst Into Books, I put both of our websites. Both of them have mailing lists on them. The first website, Burst Into Books, is just our nonprofit, and it just talks about the programs and things we do in schools. And then the bibarts.org is our actual bookstore. So we have a bookstore, community art space in Roseland, right off of 107th in Michigan. And so if you go there, it'll have the calendar of events, the hours we're open for you to come in and buy a book, or even we have areas where you don't even have to buy. You can just come in with your family and enjoy. We have a kids area, people co-work, people just come there to meet. It's really a community space, but we also have these things available. We are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, but the best way to stay connected to all the things that we offer is to join our mailing list. And then these are some upcoming events. Every first Friday of the month, we host an awesome parents book club. It's actually hosted by parents of children who have autism. So when I heard that earlier, that kind of connected with me. We do Saturday cooking classes. Those will start back next month. We have art, writing workshops. We host open mics every fourth Friday of the month. This is for adults. You can bring your children if you want, but it could just be for you as an adult. We also host an entrepreneur book club for those who are aspiring owners or also already have a business. And then this is just our address. And so again, all of this information you can find at our website. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks. This was great.
Yes,
Loved your
absolutely.
presentation.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jury